Welcome back to We Still Like Each Other, the podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Stephanie.
And this is the podcast where we show that the honeymoon stage can last forever.
Forever and ever.
Hey, baby.
Hey, daddy.
It's feeling a little cramped in here today.
Really?
No, not cramped. It just feels like we got another body in here.
Yes. Welcome back to the show, Lorraine.
Hi.
Yeah, so we got Lorraine back. Last time we had her on Zoom, and I was really hoping to get her in person at some point, and it just worked out, and I'm really excited. I prefer in-person, organic conversation.
Yeah, here we are.
I was really proud of that Zoom, though.
No,
like quality-wise, it looked great.
Yeah, it was. You did really well in terms of production. I just always feel like just having the ability to like interject or give your opinion in real time.
Yeah. And just be in person, like physical stuff.
The
matters.
energy flows easier in person as well.
For sure.
How was your week, babe?
It was good. I took the week off with you guys and just been hanging out at home.
It went by way too fast.
Yeah.
I like wish you had another week.
You need a week for the week.
Because it's like this week is supposed to be like catch up with stuff around the house with the kids. And it's like you didn't really get a chance to rest. Mm-mm. It's been go, go, go. And then River, the baby's having like a sleep regression or something. He was up in the middle of the night 2 days.
Oh my God.
So
it's been ghetto to say the least.
You need another day, another couple days off.
That's all good.
How was your week, Lorraine?
It was good. I've been having honestly, I've been feeling really good. I came out of like the slump that happened. Mm-hmm. So it's like on the up and up, there's always that like downs and lows.
Could it be because spring is...
Yeah.
Spring has sprung.
I'm an Aries, so like also it's my season. So I just feel like all the things are
I'm triggered
happening.
right now.
Why?
With the zodiac signs.
Oh, oh my God. Do y'all know your big three?
No, I know. I'm a Gemini though.
Okay, yeah, I know.
The big three, the basketball league, or?
Oh my God. No.
He's a Leo.
I'm a Leo.
Okay.
But we don't know that.
August 17th.
Yeah.
1988. I was born on a Wednesday.
Cool.
I don't know.
I knew mine. I had looked it up and I forgot. But I believe I'm Gemini in 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And then I think the other one was a Libra.
Okay, cool.
But I don't remember.
You put a lot of stock into that?
I do.
Even with dating?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, I do.
Oh, God. Travis is
but
triggered.
I love Leo men and I love Gemini women.
Okay.
I love
We
Leos
pass,
and Geminis,
baby, we
period.
pass.
Okay, we pass.
Yeah. I always grew up like hearing like the Gemini thing. For some reason, for me, I thought Gemini was like the most hated sign because growing up, it would just be like, Yeah. Anytime someone asks, I'm a Gemini, and I would just, at one point I was like, I know you hate them. Like,
yeah,
it's okay.
It's like the stereotype for Geminis, like, oh, they're two-faced, all this stuff. And it's just like, now we want to step into like, oh, we're multi-dimensional, and now y'all like it. Right?
Exactly. And we actually had a conversation last episode about how sometimes we kind of manifest the qualities people say about us. And I feel like that probably relates to me when it comes to a Gemini. Mm-hmm. And like, not necessarily two-faced in the negative way, but for me, it became I could be really nice, but don't fuck with me. Right. And I had this extreme of like, I'm not the one. And then in my mind, I'm like, because I'm a Gemini. And I kind of was self-fulfilling that whole idea, and I didn't even fucking realize it.
That's real. I've heard that before from like people who are just like, you like astrology that much, you believe in it that much. I'm just like, yeah. And they're like, you're manifesting that stuff. And I'm like, well, there are traits that literally align. Like Leo men are like, my dad is a Leo, so I know a lot about Leo men. And it's just like, they're very like family oriented. Like when they're committed for real. And it's just like, I see a lot of traits in that in you from like, following stuff.
What's the negative stuff?
Y'all just always think you're right. Like when you at least for my dad, I don't know if that shows up.
Keep going.
But but when there's like a certain argument, they will die on that hill, and like they're just like, well, no, I'm gonna die here, and like this is right, and so
I could say not 100% accurate, but it does sometimes take you a little time to like come around.
See my way.
Yeah, you gotta talk. I will say they're good listeners though, because that's how it is with my dad. Like my mom and me will like go after him about like something is misogynist type of stuff that be coming up in his Dominican life. And and we're just like, it's just because you're a man. And he's like, no, like, and we're like, well, look at this, this, and this. And you just listen to this other person who was a man, but you are not listening from us. And then he'll like, he just wants the data. And then he'll be like, okay, fine.
I guess you're right.
But it takes him a while.
People think like sometimes they'll say like Leo, like since he's a Leo, that he would be like super extroverted and like the center of attention in a room or something like that. And I'm always like, no, he's not like that. He's very chill. Like he could take command of a room without all that rah stuff.
I agree. Yeah, for a lot. Like also one of my friends, Mela, I don't know if you follow her, Melania Luisa Amante.
Yes,
her husband is a Leo too. He has the same birthday as my dad. They're literally like, it was crazy having them in a room together because we were just like, wow, this is the older version of him and the younger version of him. And like it was just like, they both do that. Like, it's a very like calm, like, this is my space. I actually, like, I'm a lion. Like, I can actually have this space. It's mine. And I don't have to like let you know about it. Like, kind of energy, you know?
You like that, right? Like, it sounds good. You're like,
That's why I had to actually, that's why I had to make sure to see what the negative stuff was before I was like, yeah, that's me. That's me.
Everyone has good and bad things, you know. I don't know. I've been talking a lot about, like, I'm not an astrologer at all, but it's been part of my life, my whole life. And like the book has a lot of that, and we can talk about that later. But like, I've been having a lot of these conversations with like people who are like, tell me how it shows up in the book, but they're hella skeptical. And you're just like, but do you believe me though? Like,
I love that.
I have a few more questions, but I'll get to it later.
About what?
Astrology and dating and.
Okay. Now I'm like, I want to know what you was going to ask.
No, just in terms of like, how could you like put a hard stop to something just based off of zodiac? Like, let's say you meet someone and I doubt the first question that comes out of your mouth is, what's your name? What's your sign? And then you're vibing, but then they say a sign that you just know, well, according to you, it just doesn't mesh well.
Yeah.
And you've just pumped the brakes.
Well, I will say, like, should I answer now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know, I guess for me right now, I would put a hard stop sometimes to like specific signs. I will say Pisces men.
Ooh.
I've done enough Pisces, and it's just like, I will look at the other placements, right? Because like your sun sign is like kind of like how you show up, like from face value. That's why everyone like knows what your sun sign is. But your moon sign is really like your emotions. And then your rising sign is like how you portray yourself to be out in the world, like for people. And so like and everything else, like your Mercury, the way you communicate, your Venus, the way you love, like all of that stuff matters. And so like, I'll look at the compatibility, but like for some reason, just Pisces men don't let me down. Like I already know what it is with them. Like, and I don't got to learn again. I've learned.
You've learned
quite a bit.
Okay.
And I say that like I'm a Pisces rising, but it's just something about them where I'm
so
just
Pisces
like,
sun men, like
like I don't know. I gotta really like be like.
But what is it? Like, is it something that's known to Pisces in general, or
they're just? Oh my God, I just don't know. They're just so fickle. Like. They just don't have any. I'm sorry to any Pisces man watching this. I'm not telling you to dump no Pisces man either. Like, it's just like for me, they've been very fickle. And it's funny because I was listening to some other podcast yesterday, and the first thing they were just like, no Pisces men for us. And I was like, actually, I agree with that. Like, and they were like different signs of me. So I don't know. They're just like fickle, like, they say they want something, they don't. I guess that could be for anyone, right? At any point in their life. But like, it's just a pattern that I've learned for myself. And I've also learned from other people's dating experiences with Pisces men. With everyone else, I don't think I have that thing. I hear a lot about like, no Gemini men. And like, I really like Gemini men. I think they're really, really fun. And, you know, I don't have a hard stop with them. But like... Yeah, I think just right now, Pisces men are just like on my shit list.
Okay.
Do you only date men?
I have not dated women in a while, but I used to. And then I guess we could talk about this on another podcast.
Well, I was going to ask because you keep saying like men with the sign. So does it differ?
I think it does. Like, I think at least like I was looking at Love is Blind. They put all of their zodiac signs up now. So like, Kwame, Josh, was that the white dude? No, not Josh.
Paul?
Yeah, Paul and el otro, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
They're all Aries men. And I actually think Aries men are so different from Aries women. Like, I'm an Aries, and like, I think they're so different from us. And while I was watching the show, I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense for all three of them. But like, I just don't relate. And so I do think there's a difference. I think there are points of like connection, obviously, but I think there's a difference. I think just like the energy that shows up too, it's not only about gender. Like, sometimes I will say like, there are like, I know specifically of a Gemini man who has like a lot of feminine energy. And like, that's one of my favorite things about him. Like, he's so like, he doesn't really on his own, like, he doesn't care about like gender roles in that way. And like, I don't know, there's just something about him that's very feminine that I love.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I was asking so much about the Pisces men because Eli is a Pisces, my son.
Oh my God.
And I purposely was waiting for her to give me her like unbiased opinion, because he will ask me sometimes and I don't know enough. I'm like, I don't know anything about. He's like, Ma, someone asked me what my sign is. I guess he's getting to the age where some kids know about it and I don't know anything. Yes. So I'm like, tell me more.
So my son is going to have an uphill battle.
I'm so sorry. Listen, I think y'all are raising him to be very emotionally in tune. Even like today with the hug thing, when I asked him, like, do you hug? He was like, yes, a lot. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he's a hugger. He knows it.
Oh my God. So like, you know, y'all are raising him to be the best elevated Pisces ever.
But then it's also like, you know, motherhood is hard and raising him sometimes is like, so in my head, I'm like, ooh, it must be a Pisces thing. He gets me upset.
Oh my God. But you should look into this. Yeah. Whatever. You could go down a rabbit hole later. But like, there's compatibility charts also for like parents and children. I have books on this too.
I need to look into it.
Yeah.
And I'm the type, like, I'm in between Travis and you with the astrology stuff. I feel like anything positive and that people look to like find signs to better develop who they are as people, better relational skills with other people, I'm for it, no matter what it is, you know? So I would definitely look into that for parenting.
Yeah, it's really dope. Like, I feel like a lot of the healing I've done with my mother has really come from a place of like, she's a Cancer and I'm an Aries, and like too much of each other, like either like I evaporate her, or I mean, she like dries me out, or I evaporate her.
What's
so
your
like,
mom's sign?
She's a Cancer.
Oh, you just said that. Yeah, she's a Cancer. My mom's a Capricorn. I don't know. I'm gonna look into the mother-daughter stuff too.
Look into it. It's good
rabbit hole I need to dive into. Travis asked you about, it made me think of my own experience with like dating men, and as a queer woman who's feminine presenting, whenever I talk to people about dating and relationships, I default to speaking as like in a heteronormative context. Do you struggle with that as well?
Yeah, same. I'm still like grappling through that, honestly, and like doing work on that. But I will say, like, I've definitely dated more men than women. And I feel like I show up in relationships with women very masculine.
Me too.
And it's actually like really, I think it's like sexist on my end, because it's just like, I'll do the same. I literally have internalized what men have done to me, or like the thoughts men have about me onto them. And it's just like, God. I feel like that's why I've just been careful about, you know, going down that path again.
That's wild. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I show up very masculine.
Once you said it, I'm like, I kind of was toxic once to one girl. I didn't even realize it. Like, I didn't put it in that context. That's insane. So like, it's been like a process, I guess, because I have to hold myself accountable. Like, it hasn't been, I don't know. I just don't feel like I show up in like a soft way in any way, shape, or form. Do you ever think like, oh, well, I'm going to just take the easy route and just date men?
I think it's just easier to date men because that's how we're already programmed. Like, that's the default, right? Already. And there are just so many barriers, I think, on my end when it comes to like mental shit that I have to go through in order to like fully dive into a relationship with a woman. And I don't think I've done that yet. Like, I have this conversation with my cousin, Alida, who's lesbian and like has been like relationship with women. And I'm always like, I feel like this shit is toxic. Like, you know, like, I don't think I have the tools yet. And
but how do you make the first step to like be able to?
I guess it's just like diving back in, like, you know, like it'll be that. But
yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna point out that it's big of you that you're aware of that.
Yeah.
But you can acknowledge that being aware of it isn't enough.
No, it's not.
So how do you deal with that? Because like if I had a negative thing about myself, I'm like, yeah, I'm aware that I'm a bit of an asshole, but I wasn't doing the work to like not be
exactly
an
how I sound right now.
No, I was gonna say you not 100% because you're at least like, well, I'm gonna avoid hurting people. You're not like, I'm not doing the work and I'm still gonna like go into something not prepared for it.
Yeah. That's a perfect word. I just don't feel like I'm prepared for it right now. I think I might be, and again, I just might have to just dive into it. But I still think I have a lot of biases. I don't know. I just want to name that. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with me naming that. I just think like...
And how so? Like, in my head, how I'm interpreting is like some of the misogynistic or patriarchal ideas that we impose on ourselves as women, we then impose on the women we date. Yeah. Since we take on like a more traditionally masculine role in like queer relationships.
Yeah. It looks like, I just want to say how it looks like. It looks like being like, yeah, we're not in a serious relationship from jump.
We're just fucking around.
Yeah. Period. Like, or like
all through college, like when people ask about my sexuality, I'll be like, I'm bi, but I would never date a woman.
Yeah,
like,
and that's
toxic. Who was it? Like, what?
And I get so angry at other people who say that.
Yeah.
But then it's just like that has been my practice. So it's like I have to like kind of check myself.
So you turn into a fuckboy.
I used to in the past, I would say. I will say,
you know that meme where it's like you can't see clear and then the glasses get on and then it's gonna be like you blurred and then it's gonna be a fuckboy.
Yeah. I think also like something else that I think this is so hard to talk about because honestly this is like a serious ass conversation, but like I don't know, as someone who has like who knows what like violence and assault looks like with men, it's kind of different to evaluate it with women. And I've had like people in my life who I consider like my friends who had tried to cross like a certain line with me. And even after I had set a hard boundary on that, and it was just like, honestly, it did turn into like it left a sour taste in my mouth. And it's happened a couple of times in the last few years. And I think that's what continues having me avoid doing that type of work because I'm just like, I know how to do this with men. I know how to be assaulted by a man and be like, and whatever. I don't know how to do that with a woman.
Do you feel like you give grace to men though? Like in terms of like, let's say a male friend like oversteps that boundary, even though you've said like, I'm good, but then you would then potentially give them another chance in terms of like, you tried it, I shut you down, we're moving on. No, it's a hard stop.
It's a hard stop. And I actually don't have a lot of male friends because of that. I have one male friend literally, and he's one of my closest friends, but past him, like, I don't have a lot of male friendships because of that. Because it's just like,
how to not cross that boundary.
Yeah. Like, I know there are people that don't care about having like, you know, flexible relationships, but like, with me, at least in my own healing journey, it's like, if we're friends, we're friends. Like, I'm going to probably be around you in really vulnerable ways. And so like, I don't want none of those situations to be compromised by like you coming on to me or like
or sexual relationship.
And it also leads to a lot of resentment because like one of the people I'm talking about, she came on to me and I shut her down. And after that, she made me pay for it in our friendship for a long time.
That's toxic as well.
Yeah. And so, like, I think I was already in a place where, let's say, like, 4 years ago, I had already checked, like, oh, I'm showing up in really misogynist ways into, like, in this queer relationship. Like, why? So I had already started that work. But then it's like, you add all of these, like, instances of, like, I'm trying to just have a really intimate relationship with my friend. And it's like, you don't know how to respect my boundary. And so now I have to navigate that form of like low key, like I want to call it a boundary crossing, but it also feels like an assault of some sort, because it's like
taking advantage of, because you're opening up in a vulnerable way as a friend,
right?
So you're giving someone the opportunity to hurt you. You know, you're being vulnerable, and then they do it. They overstep. It's like I trusted you with this vulnerability, and now you're taking advantage of it.
So you mentioned it's a hard stop for men. Was it a hard stop because it was a woman?
It wasn't a hard stop for. It's never a hard stop for women because I have a lot more grace for women. I will say it also hurts more from women, and so like I'll like for me at least the way that showed up is like. Like maybe I gaslight myself a lot where I'm like, maybe that's not what happened. But then it's just crazy because I think the universe always puts it in front of me where like the person will like be like, no, that is exactly what was happening. I was trying to hit on you. Like I was coming on to you, like all of these things. And I'm like, oh shit, I spent the last 3 months gaslighting myself and being really uncomfortable around you and not knowing why anymore. Because I've like told myself it was a lie.
You didn't trust yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm reading the 4 Agreements, the Don Miguel Ruiz, I believe. And one of the parts I was just recently reading, he was talking about not taking things personally and then trusting yourself and like not gaslighting yourself. Like if someone's taking advantage of you, abusing you in any way, like if you stay, you're the one that wants to endure the suffering. Like, trust yourself. Don't gaslight yourself. And I'm like, oh, shit, I never thought about it.
I think it's pretty interesting how much grace we give the queer people in our lives, because you've pointed out to me that, like, in that space, you're still trying to find yourself and find people like you, right? So, like, for this person, they potentially saw something in you, and they shot their shot, and it was obviously not a go. Yeah. But you're like, fuck, I know what it feels like to not basically have your tribe, you know? Like I know when I was like in my early 20s, there was a friend of mine who was gay and we would hang out, and every time I dropped him off, he would be a little drunk and be like, he'd say some sexual shit. And I just laugh it off, like, go home, go home. Yeah. But it was like always. And
it was toxic.
And if it were, Steph doesn't think I would turn a woman down, but if it was a woman that I wasn't interested in, I would be like, I can't fuck with her no more. Like every time we hang out, but because I know that for him, it's like there's not a lot of gay men,
and he didn't have a community. You kind of just felt bad for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. It's layered. I also think, yeah, it's just like with that specific person that happened with. I was telling them once because we were in a place where like in a country where queer spaces are kind of really oppressed. Like they're almost so hidden, they're non-existent, but they're there. And they were just like, I wish I was in a place where like I can connect more with like queer folks and queer community because it makes me feel safe and good. And it's true. I get that. I like lived in Oakland for a while, and I think in those spaces where I used to go, people will just like grab up on your body, like without knowing you, without like whatever. And so like I brought that up to them where I'm just like, I feel like we need to have an honest conversation about like how we need to build safety in all places, period. Because I have been in queer spaces where like my body has been touched or groped or grabbed without my permission.
That happens in a lot of queer spaces. Like gay men think they could touch like women in areas like, whoa.
It's just like, bro, like, please no. Like, I don't care where the fuck I'm at. Do not touch my body, like, without my permission.
And then it's also like that, like twerk culture too, right? Because like amongst group of women who trust each other and know each other, like you're twerking, you're slapping each other's butts.
Trust though.
But you people, tienen esa confianza, we say, like, I don't know the word, like, you feel comfortable with that person. Like, I have friends that they could slap my ass if we're at a club, but then random other women, especially if you're in a queer space, think they can also do it. And it's like, whoa, hold up. I don't know you like that.
Yeah. And so like, I think there's been a lot of these instances. So again, like, I think I am just more as any, like, I think cis woman, like, I am more in tune with like the violence that comes from men. And I'm also just trying to, at the same time, navigate it with other women in order to like heal from that so I can enter like a healthy relationship if that's going to be the case. Because like I don't think that's the case at this exact moment.
It's difficult. It's like another layer that I had never unfolded, but it's totally valid and I totally understand. I wanted to talk about, this kind of dragged on longer than I expected, but I did want to talk about Love is Blind.
Ooh,
And one of
Jerry.
It was funny because Travis and I were like, they should do this with like all lesbian women, right? And then we were like, but wait, how would they keep them all separate? Because then if they had two groups of women that were all lesbian, they could fall in love with the people in their own little circle.
It could be like group one. Oh,
You see what I mean?
You get?
I guess.
Like when they're outside of the pods, they're all together in like groups. But if they're all lesbians, like they just stay alone.
Yeah.
Stay in your quarters.
I guess like if people respect boundaries for real, it could be like group 1, group 2. But we know with reality TV, that's never the case.
And it's also like, even just as a human being, I could have these boundaries, but what if I actually am
attracted
with someone that I'm
in this group?
that we vibe? What am I gonna do now?
Yeah, it's not happening.
But I think it'll make it spicy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about season 4. We're caught up. We binged the new episodes yesterday.
Yes.
Who are
only here
your
for
favorites?
My favorites, Brett and Tiffany,
Exactly.
all day.
Yeah.
They're the only normal ones. Sorry.
No,
I'm rooting for Zach and Bliss.
Me too. How do you feel about Zach and Bliss?
I don't know. I feel like I love Bliss, but I'm like, why are you in love with that girl? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I guess that's not my business.
I feel like based on her appearance, you don't see it. But when she starts to talk and you see her personality, she's like very nerdy and I was gonna say intellectual. But I mean, she is intellectual. I'm not saying that correlates to why she's, well, it could be because Zach is pretty intelligent.
Yeah, they like read the same books and stuff.
Yeah. He keeps saying that fun fact about her wanting to be on the moon by 60 and
that's everyone cute. Always talks about how much he talks, but she like seems to love it. Yeah. And like she's not bothered by his talking at all.
Or he was like, does the way I stare bother you? That was like
Irina was terrible to that man. Like that was cringe.
And it wasn't
watch.
just to him. She was just a terrible person.
Yeah, she was.
She had to set a
public apology.
Girl, you know she did not want to put that apology out. She literally did it probably because like
she has a business, I think.
Yeah, people were bullying her and her business or something. Like she didn't.
But she wasn't the real villain.
Who's the villain?
Oh God.
Jackie.
I knew you were gonna say that. Okay, I get it. I saw people coming. Yo, Twitter was hot yesterday. Oh my God. Yo, they were really coming for her. Yeah. It was so funny.
They were putting her in the same category as like Irina or the other villains from the past seasons.
I felt, I don't know. I feel like I see her.
Mm-hmm.
There were parts when we were like, so when we watch, we pause, talk to each other, and I paused and said that basically I can understand like her mental space in going through this process because Stephanie pointed out that she's trying to do something different, right? Maybe the guy that she ends up with now is more of her norm, but Marshall was something different, and the whole point of this show is to do something different. So she was like really trying to like push through. Like all the other girls are talking about how, like these deep feelings they have with these guys in the pods, and Marshall is like Mr. Feelings. But when you get to reality, that could be a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like she had a lot going on. Like she mentioned in her post the other day, like her dad has like cancer and like she's like the head of the household right now. I think they live in Mexico and like she travels to see them like every weekend. I think she had a lot going on and she shouldn't have been going on the show, period, right now. But also like, I just think she's severely traumatized and like, I think she said this one of the episodes that passed where she was like, I think I need to go do self-work. Like, I think I'm crazy.
Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't really buy it though. It's just, I don't know.
It kind of sounds like when you say something so people could be like, no, you're not crazy.
Yeah.
Bring that a little closer.
Oh,
the mic.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds like she wanted people to be like, no. Like, was it genuine? I don't know. How did you say you feel like you see her?
Yeah, I feel like I was at that place once in my life, like where I was just like, good guys just felt like that to me, but it was because I was severely traumatized. Like I thought showing up in a specific type of way was the way to show up, you know, and be a real man. But like, what the fuck is a real man? You know, like Marshall, I want to say Marshall was so kind and loving and affectionate, all that good stuff. I think he was a good dude, but also like, I didn't appreciate your project thing.
We were like
that was a slip up. Yeah. I get it, but that was a big tell.
I don't even think that was a slip up. I think he probably was trying to jab. And we've all been guilty of that. Like, even me, like, I don't like conflict. And every once in a while, I'll have a moment where I'm like, ugh. It's like you see it coming out your mouth and you want to catch it. I'm sure that's what it was for him. Yeah. Like, he immediately regretted it. I don't think that's who he is.
I wish I saw the original argument of her telling him like, be more aggressive. Toughen up. Like, I wish I saw the original one because it kind of seemed like a recap.
Yeah.
And then when she was like, we don't even have sex.
Yeah, I wonder if they just have different sexual languages, you know? Like, that could really be I get it, make or break thing. But it's just like, yeah, I wonder if she meant like in your regular day-to-day life be more aggressive or just like in the bedroom be more aggressive.
Those are two different things.
Yeah.
I think it's what you mentioned about her perception of love comes with a little bit more aggression and toughness. Even the way she shows up for her family, like so unconditional. Yeah. So she needs something that's like aggressive or like a little bit hurtful even maybe to feel fulfilled, feel loved.
That's sad. That makes me sad for her.
But did you see the text messages?
What text messages? Yeah.
So she has a group friends chat and one of the friends screenshot the message, and it was basically her implying that Marshall is a little sweet.
Gay.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. So that girl is not okay.
She's not.
She needs to go.
So, and Marshall did the Marshall thing and responded like, the only sugar here is the one I'm putting on these pancakes.
And he made her that big breakfast.
Yo, that was so sweet.
Yeah. And then her friends were like, she was like basically warning her friends, like, don't try to call him gay at the wedding. Type of thing.
That's not okay.
Yeah, like it was bad.
And it's also very telling that your friends are screenshotting this
and sharing it. I don't know how that got out.
I mean, yeah, I just feel bad for her. I think she needs to go like
see the lady.
Yeah, go see someone.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Like, I also think she was like the only Latina, which I didn't realize until later, and I felt lots of ways about that. I was just like, damn. I wonder what kind of man her dad was before he got sick, because I don't know, was her dad aggressive? Like all these questions I have about like her culture now and like how it showed up in this relationship with this man. Like, but I feel bad that they're painting her out to be the villain.
Yeah, I had my eyebrow raised when she did that thing with Chelsea. She was kind of basically talking with Chelsea about Micah and Kwame talking by the pool. She was like, oh, no, girl, get your man. Da-da-da. But then the next day she was talking to Micah and was like, if she wanted your man, she could have had him. Yeah. And I was like, that's kind of two-faced.
Yeah, no, she was a little two-faced. I'm not going to lie to you. And also, like, what was it that she did that was like, girl... Oh, just a coffee date with Josh. I'm like, who the fuck would be... Why would you say you're... Oh, Josh is just so like...
drunk in your face. That's what made you go, ooh, I'm kind of attracted. Right. That's what you're attracted to, this drunk guy on your face? I couldn't believe it.
I don't know.
Who's love bombing you?
Since we've been in this podcast space, I'm like watching things with a different eye. I think the editing may have been like... The timeline may have been off in terms of like when she sat down with him.
That's what she was saying in the different post that she put up today. She was like, we actually broke up. Like that coffee date was afterwards or something.
But she said, I just saw Josh while they were breaking up. Maybe that wasn't the conversation.
I think she may have saw Josh without cameras.
Yeah.
Because even like, it just seems too like scripted in the sense that like, all right, we got to do this because people are going to be confused.
But still, when she broke up with him, she goes, I was just with Josh. She said it. So maybe that wasn't the date, but they were seeing each other.
I would never, like, fine, don't dump Marshall. Dump him. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But to go and try to replace him with Josh, girl, like... Mm-mm. And I saw also that Josh is a Gemini man. I was like, wow, that's sad and embarrassing because
She loves him
he's
tough.
whack.
She loves him tough.
He's whack.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right, let's go to Kwame and Chelsea. There's a lot of layers to this relationship.
I was literally on the floor about to have a heart attack.
Yo, I had to pause it because I was like, Chelsea is about to
So we think
send me into early
he's
grade.
gonna say no.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
That man is gonna
I think
say
he
no.
knew he was gonna say no
From get-go.
from jump.
I don't know why he's playing with her.
And it's killing me now because
His siblings.
his siblings, when they came, they feel like this is legit.
I legit want them to get married for that woman, for her sister.
And the brother too, they really are into it. They're like, no turning back. They were so proud
Crying.
of him. They flew in.
I think he thought his siblings coming might have helped his case for not doing it. And they've been nothing but supportive. He's like,
supportive.
you told dad, he's like, yeah, dad is excited.
Dad is excited.
He's like,
Called
oh, fuck.
dad.
He's like, oh, all I got is the mom card now.
Bought her a Kente bag. I was like,
all right, so let's talk about that part because this is so from jump. I was like, Chelsea's giving like she's fetishizing this black man.
D,
the way
dog.
she like says his name and stuff, and I'm like, all right, I get it. So let's talk about that perspective of the relationship.
I like Chelsea though.
I kind of do because Kwame's like easy to hate, especially because he's like he's not being honest with her. That's what makes him easy to hate because it's like, why are you playing yourself?
Yeah.
He looks into the cameras and tells them like, I don't want to move to wherever he's moving to, Seattle.
Portland.
It's
and
like
all this
every
stuff.
other like single interview that he does, it's like he's saying something different. It's like, one, yeah, Chelsea's the best thing. Oh, then it's something negative.
And then when he sits and talks with her, he looks like he wants to say the opposite. And he goes, yeah, of course I do. Of course I love you.
That scene with the strawberries, he's like,
oh my God, no, that scene, I was just
crazy.
like, please stop it.
And
please stop embarrassing yourself, girl, please.
But you know what? We also pointed out, it's like sometimes, oh, you're good. You're good. Sometimes as a couple, you may have had an argument, but now it's like, all right, we're going out. Get your shit together.
Faking it. So she was trying to fake it for the cameras, and he
couldn't.
He wasn't with it. No, like I do think there's a little bit of like culture stuff going on there because I feel like she's just hanging on to him for like what is the reason? Like what is the actual real reason?
Wanting to settle down so bad, and this feels like your closest opportunity.
And would you be giving like some random like dude in your own culture all of these like he's told you in every conversation he hasn't missed, like he's not sure. So like would you be letting some like whatever dude in your culture you would date, some dude from Seattle, like just tell you so many times, I don't know if I want to get married, and still be taking these like elaborate photo shoots with them?
But then it's also him. She's telling you it's her dream to do it with her husband, and you're not sure.
Why would you
put your big boy fucking pants on and tell her no?
I'll be shocked if he says yes.
Yeah, me too. I don't want to feel like an idiot. No,
but because he did the photo shoot and the way his siblings are so supportive, I'm like, he might say yeah.
I don't know. And I look at other clues, right? They just did like a pop-up for Love is Blind in New York City, and he was there with Bartiz and some other people. I'm like, as a married man, I don't know if you would be out there promoting the show. I don't know. It just seems like now this is his trajectory. Yeah. It's like the reality show guy.
Okay, so I was talking to my friend T about this whole situation, and I was like, can I share your thoughts on the podcast? Because it's so good. And they were like, yeah, sure. So they said, Chelsea is in her own world. She can't even see that this man is dead ass giving you the most annoyed and irritated hums and has signs every time that he doesn't want to talk to you. Like, he's very like standoffish, dry. She's one of those white women that gaslights you into thinking everything is fine. Yeah. She talks through him sometimes. I want to slap her through the screen.
Yep. And so, like, I'm not even trying to do this, like, interracial, like, dating thing. But, like, I wonder if, like, that's how relationships are sometimes. I don't know anyone who's, like, a white woman and a black man dating. Like, I don't know intimately any couples like that. But sometimes I'm just like, is this what be happening? Like, Or like, what is it?
Yeah,
like
my friend's
I be having
it's
questions.
It's like Get Out. Like
Yeah.
it seems, and you think about it, they also brought up he's moving into her space, close to her family. He kind of has stated he wants to travel. He's not really ready.
He likes soccer. He likes the sun.
But
like,
she's
he
like,
likes
let's
being
get
out.
married. Let's settle down. I want kids. And it's kind of like swooping in him into a world that he doesn't want to be in.
Yeah.
And she's so acting oblivious, but it's like, is she?
And he doesn't need to be doing that, right? Because I think like I've lived in DR like the last few years quite a bit on the like coast where like there's a lot of beaches. So like that's where a lot of tourists come. So like I have really seen and know of very far away a lot of like white women who come and date Black Dominican men and like, you know, take them wherever they live. And so like in that context, like I understand why a man will be like, all right, I'm gonna make all of these like compromises, sacrifices, whatever you want to call them. But like Kwame doesn't have to be doing
like
this.
you're
like
in
he's
Portland,
good.
bro.
Like why are you doing this?
Your mom already came from Ghana. Like you're good.
Yeah, like you're fine. Like it seems like he has a stable job. He has a good apartment. Like he likes his life. So it's like, why are you risking so much for this woman? And so
or
like,
be honest. I feel like he's gonna say no, but why is he dragging it? Like I honestly, that's why
is
I'm
it
like,
for the show?
I love that Jackie at least was like, I'm not
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah.
You know, and not
Yeah, but
faked it.
in his defense, the whole point of the show is getting to that point and then deciding yes or no. Jackie's a little different in terms of like she just couldn't even get there.
Yeah.
The whole fetishizing thing when Kwame's sister went into like the bride's room with the bridesmaids. And they were all like, "Oh my God, she's so pretty! Look at her shoes!"
Yeah, that
I
was a lot.
like, "Get out of here!" They got me so mad.
Yeah. Also, sorry, my thought just went away as I was saying that because it was like right before you talked about that. Hold on, but you can go on. I think it'll come back to me.
No, it's okay. We were talking about like the compromises and Jackie not going through with it. Like I kind of respect her for that versus like getting to the date.
Yeah. It's like even the thing with the mother, like the fact that she like is like, would you make this choice without your mother? I think she keeps asking him that and like really not like I think there's another statement behind that question, which is like, do you really need your mother to make this like decision? Like you're gonna like allow her to come in between us? Like she kept saying, you know, it's just been us making this decision, whatever. And it's just like, bro, like, do you have any respect for like the culture and the home that he's telling you he has?
I push back on that though.
Okay, go ahead.
Because Kwame has shown that this upbringing that he's had has not really shown up in his adult life at all. He doesn't pray.
He doesn't want to be called Kwame. He had a fake name, Alex.
Oh, for real?
He said in the beginning, one of the first few episodes, he was like, I almost wasn't gonna use Kwame. I was gonna use Alex.
Oh.
But I don't think that's a name that he uses in general. I think his point was that if you hear the name Kwame, you can at least almost put together a face. Not that he's like in his real life.
But when we talk about, the reason I bring it up is because we're talking about the culture and his commitment to the culture and understanding why he needs his mom approval. But then on the other hand, you're like, oh, I'll change my name.
And then he has sex outside of marriage.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of things that shows me like you don't really care. But in this moment, you're using that as like a, you know.
I don't think he
trump
might.
card.
I don't think he might not respect the like religious types of things. It's just like I can say that for my own self. Like, right, I was raised Catholic, and like my mom has all these hopes for me, but like obviously they're not there. But like, if my mom is like, "You're on this show, and like, I don't want you to get married this way because I would want you to like get married to someone who's closer to our culture," or like something like that. Like, I want my mom to get on my end eventually. Like, I might not listen to what she's saying, but like, I want her support in it, you know, regardless to what. And I think she has a very like American mindset where she's just like, well, does your mom really matter this much? And it's just like, yeah, like even if he's just using it as an excuse, it's like, girl, like it doesn't matter. You need to respect what the fuck he's saying.
Yeah, or at least notice like he doesn't really like you that much.
Yeah.
I feel bad for her.
Yeah. Guess we'll see next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a live reunion.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Did you know, babe? Do you have one?
Yeah, do you want to do some shout outs before we do that?
Okay, yes. So we want to give a shout out to one of our patrons, Arica. She celebrated her birthday recently. Her and her partner just bought a new home, and they're actually building it from scratch. Like,
wow,
that's kind of dope,
that's
right?
awesome.
Yeah, shout out to y'all.
Yep, she got a promotion. So she said Mercury is not in retrograde or whatever that is over here. We had like a whole inside joke about that. But yes, congratulations, Arica.
Yeah. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you're thinking so far about these combos. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. If anything less, we'll get you next week. All right, let's do Did You Know? Did you know? All right, Did you know? Did you know in Iceland? Sorry, I'm going to start over. Did you know? One more time. Did you know Iceland has a dating app that stops you from hooking up with your cousin?
We need that in DR.
That's why I picked this one. Unfortunately, Icelanders keep accidentally sleeping with their relatives.
Oh, snap.
This is mainly due to 3 reasons. Iceland has a relatively small population, roughly 320,000. Iceland has very few foreign nationals, and Icelandic surnames do not give you much indication of lineage.
Okay. I just thought like maybe the men were like Dominican men. They have so many kids everywhere.
So I saw this and I was like, 2 Dominican women. I'm sure y'all will have some stories about being careful with men or women.
Yeah, my mom used to literally tell us about like last names to watch out for and stuff growing up.
I know of like people who have moved in that path of, you know, whether it's a second or first cousin. I think first, second, any type of cousin is a little for me.
Yeah.
And I also have been in the countryside in DR. And so like I understand how things could get mixy. Not for me, but like I have grace for the people who have been in those situations.
Yeah, and it's not like they have more limited access to like a dating pool. But I was thinking more in the sense of like unknowingly because of the way men spread their seed. And like it could be a sibling.
Yeah.
I did like Ancestry, and I'm always like waiting to see if I have like a random brother or sister pop up, but nothing yet.
Yeah.
Do you date Dominican men?
I have not in a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've dated like very casually, sure, but like not seriously, not for a very long time.
Have you? I can't. No.
No, maybe casually too, but not much.
Watch your mouth.
No, honestly, I always felt like for me growing up in New York City, I was too black for Dominican men. And then like if I was with Dominican men, I noticed they kind of fetishize me and be like, oh, like morena this, or like you're like I thought you were black, but you're like too pretty, or your hair's too long, and like little weird shit that I took as compliments as like a young, immature dumbass.
Yeah.
But there's never been like growing up, teenage years, even early 20s, where a Dominican man, it seemed like a genuine connection.
Yeah. I my first like real boyfriend who I was with for like 9 years was Dominican, and what a time. I would never again, like it's just I know too much. I think I just know too much about Dominican men, and like I have a lot of grace for them, love them. I don't think all Dominican men are the same, obviously. But like I do think like I think I just rather not know so much about the person.
So if they're a Pisces Dominican man, you're just like,
oh my God. Hell no. Do not slide in the DMs at all. Like, it's a no. Oh my God. That was my ex. So it was just like flashbacks right now. Oh my God. Trigger
warning.
Please no.
But I identify as a Leo Jamaican. So.
Yeah. That's another thing. Like, people kind of have a lot of stereotypes, like, regarding Jamaican men.
Yeah.
And I feel like Travis is so, like, Americanized. I feel like we are similar in that sense that, like, I'm not super close with, like, all my Dominican family. And, like, you're not like, your Jamaican family that you're close with are all, like, your cousins that were born here, too. Very Americanized.
But what's, like, the stereotype for Jamaicans? Like, we don't eat pussy.
But the same, too, like, womanizers.
Yeah, womanizers and all that.
I feel like that's Caribbean men.
Yeah, that's Caribbean, period. also talking about Love is Blind. So what was this dude? SK?
Oh my
Yo,
God.
I was like, why did this dude go on there and just like put all these Nigerian stereotypes on blast like that?
Exactly. Or
why?
Anytime any person of color just does, like Jackie, I'm like, why Jackie? Why'd
Jackie?
you do this?
Why you have to be the spicy Latina, Jackie? For the love of
They
God.
saw that SK walked so Kwame could run.
Right. I'm like, what are we doing? Please.
So annoying. Like, let the white people embarrass themselves, not us.
Right. It's just like, yo, Love is Blind New York. It's gonna have some Dominicans in there.
Yes.
And it's gonna be
they need to do Love is Blind.
Oh wait, have they cast?
No.
We were just talking.
We were talking
it.
before this. We were like, they should do a New York one.
Oh, that would be crazy.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
You should sign up. You could be the positive. You could be the Brett and Tiffany of the.
That would be amazing.
Right?
Brent is amazing. So is Tiffany. I love them.
Love them.
Yo, we need a win this year. Like,
it needs to be them.
I know, like, for y'all are married and happy, so like it's like whatever. But for me as a single person, I'm like, they need to win. Like,
I saw one in our comments, a conspiracy is that they're like a plant because the show needs like a positive.
I will cry.
No, listen.
No, like it's legit, but it's like they purposely knew it's gonna be like no drama. Let's just put them in there.
Yeah, and for us is a win too because people think like this is fake. Like, we're not really happy. Like, it's a facade. Like, we hate each other. Or, like, goals ain't real. So, when we see a real couple that's, like, healthy and happy, like, it's a win for us, too. Because then people, you know, have some faith.
And especially as quickly as it's happening. Because we happen quickly.
Yeah, we got married really, really fast. So, it's like, see, it works.
I love happy stories.
Yeah. It's not all easy. Like, I was ready to fight him yesterday.
We'll say that for next week when we don't have a guest.
It's a lot sometimes. It's like when you're with someone for so long, or not even for so long, just living life with someone, period, doing it together, the lines of like personal responsibility and codependency are like blurred. Like what's an expectation to have and what's like too much to expect of someone else. And then it's also that like, well, if I wanted to do it by myself, I could have been by myself. Yeah. It's like trying to figure that out. And we still haven't figured out the right balance.
But thank God you're here because it would have been a rough episode.
You know, talking about that, I feel like when Jackie was speaking about how hard it is to like accept someone like Marshall, I think that was also a thing that like came up in my head where I was just like, you know, I was just in like one of the healthiest relationships I want to say I've ever had in my life. And like the hard times, like when things would come up, it was so hard to navigate it in a healthy way because all you have is like the experiences of navigating it in a very toxic way. So like doing the whole let's sit down and do what Marsha wanted to do, which was like talk about it through the night or like all of that. No. She was like, bro, I'm not doing that. Like, so,
and it's probably because she literally doesn't know how.
Yeah, she doesn't know the tools. She doesn't know what it is. She like doesn't have the language. So I think that's what also made it hard for her. Sorry, I'm really into like, maybe we can clean Jackie's image up.
No, listen, I say it myself. Like, if Travis met me instead of 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe we wouldn't be able to be where we are.
I always used to say with her, like, I wish I met you earlier. She's like, no, you didn't.
I'm like, I met you at the right time. And with my son, everything. Like, all of that prepared me to be like a better person for you. Like, you didn't want me in high school or college. Like, no way. So I get it. Like, I feel like Jackie's redeemable with some self-awareness and work.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You should DM her like, listen, I'm gonna be your PR.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I do want to get into your new book, but before then, I wanted to. The beginning dragged on much longer. It was really good though. I liked it. It was a good conversation. I'm one that I have an outline. If we fall into a tangent, like, I don't mind at all. But there was one thing I wanted to ask you about, because sometimes we get questions from listeners, but I could only speak from my own perspective.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about, just based on the image you have online, you are what men would consider, like, a boss, right? Super like independent, hyper independent, works really hard, don't need no man, you know, like that's what they would say.
Yeah.
How do you feel you fit into that as like a writer, entrepreneur, you self-publish? Like, how do you feel about that image?
I think...
Is it accurate, I guess?
Is it accurate in what ways or not?
What is the de-emasculating word for taking my femininity away?
Oh, okay. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either,
say.
but I think that's what y'all be doing.
Yes.
Like
they make you more masculine, I guess.
If we're gonna say demasculating a man is real, then like y'all be taking my femininity away with that. Like I think like I like the idea of like me being an independent person, like doing my shit, like having a lot of like eagerness to like do my creative work and like all of it. I love the idea of like I can do this and I know I can do this and you know I can do this, but I do think it also like removes all the soft parts that I do want as a human, period. Like I want someone to do things for me without me asking. I want someone to like communicate with me and like just show up, you know? Can you ask more clarifying questions so I can have a better answer?
Do you ever allow that to kind of impact your decision making? Because you're like, you know what? I'm all these things that I admire about myself, but I feel like when dating, especially dating men, it might limit my options because men are going to be intimidated by the type of woman that I am.
Yeah, I think I didn't date and I was like celibate for 3 years and like from like
ooh, girl.
Yeah. From like 2017 to like the beginning of the pandemic.
And this was on purpose.
Yeah, this was on purpose. Okay. I was doing a lot of like healing because again, like, you know, there was a lot of toxic stuff going on in my life and just like, you know, all the things. But when I came back into like, okay, I'm a date, I had a conversation with a friend who was just like, and she was another Black woman. So it was just like, she was like, you are so aggressive to men. You show up so aggressively to men. Like, she's like a social butterfly and likes like to be looked at and like loves men to come over and like pay for our drinks. Mind you, I'll be like, it takes me a while. Like, I have to really like have a good feeling in my gut to accept a drink because sometimes I be feeling like I accept the drink and now you're gonna sit and talk my ear off all night like for a $7 like, drink, bro. Like, no. Yeah. I mean, I said $7 and I know it's like 17 now. But she was like, you're just so aggressive. Like, no one's really approaching us. And I'm like, well, I'm not coming out to like, sometimes I want that. Like, I want men to come talk to me. And like, when it doesn't happen for a while, me and my friend were actually talking about this in DR where we're like, men just don't talk to us. And like, we know we're hot. Like, what the fuck is happening? And the men who will come talk to us is like, what are you doing? It's dudes that know, like, it's a no. Like, you know it's a no.
Yeah, like you're shooting way too high.
Like, what's up with that? Like, there's a caliber of men that just do that. And I'm just like, please, like, I'm not trying to do a hierarchical, like, range thing, but like, you know it's not, you know this is not happening. Like, what are we doing? So it'll be those type of men. And like, we're just like, what's happening? And so like, she's like, well, like, going down the list of the reasons. And a lot of them is because of like this idea of like, just being like a beautiful woman and like people know you pay your own bills and like you do your own things, like just makes men feel like not needed, which we hear a lot on podcasts now. And I'm just like, I feel like that's so whack. And like, if that's how you feel, like, you're definitely not the kind of man I want, like, and approaching me at all.
That's not the only thing that you have to offer. Like, what? There's a lot of things we would need from men that's not...
If anything, if I was single, that would be more attractive to me than someone who wasn't doing those things. I don't...
You
for
would
me.
think.
Yeah, but I think, like, for men who believe in this idea of de-emasculating, whatever it is, like, I think... having someone that you believe that you can save is like what's attractive, like, or someone who can build your masculinity up.
Marshall's
like,
project.
Yes, you see. So I'm just like, there's never been a time where I'm just like, I'm not gonna do this because I want to be more like accessible to men. But like,
Pick me energy.
Yeah, I've never done that, but I do feel like sometimes it's just like, wow, like y'all are whack. Yeah. And that's sad for y'all. Like, I'm sorry that you're gonna miss out on all the things. But I also like went through this period where I was doing like Reiki healing right after like I started dating.
Mm-hmm. Wait, what healing?
Reiki healing. So it's like body energy, like healing.
You
like,
knew what that was?
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, say, how you not gonna ask what?
I was gonna ask after because I was like, what is that for people?
Yeah. So it's just like this like energy healing of your body and stuff. And I did it, and the woman who was like doing it for me did not know anything about me like at all. Like all she was doing was like, you know, doing these Reiki healings for me. And she was an elder woman in her 70s, a Black Panamanian woman. And she was just like, at the end of the session, she was like, you have such a shell around your body that you appear like a dinosaur. Yeah, girl. You know how shattered I was? I was shattered, girl. Yeah. Like I literally like, I was just like, why? Like in my heart, I'm like, why are you saying that? And she was like, you're so soft on the inside. And like, you have such an exterior that no one is going to get close to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, and so she was just like, for your own sake, like you need to start chipping at that away. Mm-hmm. So like for me, I understand like my own traumas and my own experiences have created like this outer shell that it's true. Like when she said that, I was like, you're reading me. Thank you. But for me, I want to like work at that outer shell for everyone that's going to approach me. Not like for like friends.
Not for like the male gaze.
No, for like friends, for men, like for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was actually talking about this with my friend yesterday because we're both like, damn, we've like stepped into this period of our life where like we have less friends than we did like 5 years ago. And it's like, I want to work at that so like I can make more friends that are coming into a new chapter with me, that I can like, if I'm going to be in romantic relationships, that works for that. But like in terms of like just to allow men to have access to me, like, I'm not doing changing that for that.
The way I
am. But yeah.
Period. I appreciate that. So you have a new project that's dropping in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's dive in.
Let me get it. I want to show it. If you're on YouTube, I'm definitely going to be showing this cover.
Yes, the cover.
It's called The Making of Yolanda La Bruja.
Yeah.
How
yes, great. That was great. Yeah, so The Making of Yolanda La Bruja is out April 11th in literally 3 days. And it's a YA novel.
Young adult, right?
Yeah, young adult. Obviously, a lot of adults are reading YA. I think it's just accessible and just interesting. This is a fiction story, and it's basically about a 16-year-old Black Dominican girl, queer, deaf, from the Bronx, who is also being initiated into her family's like bruja traditions. Okay. So like religious practices.
Do you think that's a theme in your writing, like spirituality in a sense?
For sure.
Because I'm thinking, if y'all remember from the last time Lorraine was here in Celestial Summer, that kind of came up for the main character as well.
Yeah.
Is that a theme you hope to continue?
For sure. I think like as Caribbeans, especially like, you know, with the historical context we have, like we have held on to our own spirituality in ways that like are so normalized in our culture that we don't even talk about it or it's not seen, you know?
Okay.
So I think I want to continue just talking about that and writing stories around that. But basically this girl's she goes to Julia de Burgos. You remember the house system we had at Bronx Letters?
Yes.
So I was in the Julia de Burgos house.
Okay, I was in the Sadler. What was his first name?
Oh, I don't know.
He was Grandmaster Flash, his real name.
Oh, okay. That's dope. Yeah. So basically it's like heavily inspired by Bronx Letters, because I don't know if this has happened to you, but like I feel like as I look back at my educational history, like I've gone to like 4 higher education, 3 now. Mm-hmm. And my best experience was at Bronx Letters, and I didn't even know it.
I do look back and think of how lucky I was to go there. The way my path was in middle school, like I probably wouldn't even have graduated high school if it wasn't for Bronx Letters. Like I do truly value that experience. But then I also feel very, very bad for the people of the Bronx, because although it was the best we ever had, it still wasn't.
It wasn't enough.
It wasn't great.
It wasn't enough.
It was like we were so happy because everything else sucks so bad.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just feel like in terms of just going to school with like, I feel like we were so diverse as a population, and because we live in a world that tells us that in order for diversity to exist, like whiteness has to be at the center of it. And like that wasn't the case for Bronx Letters. Like we were a really diverse school. I think like, you know, it wasn't perfect, of course, but
that's crazy to think of diversity without a white presence. Yeah. Like I never even thought about that.
I feel like this is what this book tries to get at, where it's just like, essentially this new white kid comes into the school. He's the son of a politician, but he has a very like specific background that he's been kicked out of schools, like boarding schools all over the East Coast, because he has very problematic views, even though his dad is a liberal. And so, you know, Yolanda starts feeling like he's going to like maybe enact some sort of violence. She has dreams and visions around it. And she starts realizing like, oh shit, this is part of my initiation process. So she tries to like tell people and like jump into action, but she's also like, who the hell's gonna believe me and my visions and dreams?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. And like, just like in a world like Black and brown women are never believed, ever, seldom, like thinking about all these women who like have died because like they'll call the police and be like, something's happening, but no one's like coming to check for them or whatever. So she like is internalizing all these things, and she's like, no one's gonna believe me. But essentially at the end, something does occur, and it's just like part of like the making of her character, the making of her. And like throughout this, she's like has a very tight-knit community with her friends, with like her boyfriend, her family, her grandmother, all of that stuff.
So bruja translates to witch, right?
Yeah.
My understanding of witch is usually something negative. Is that something you're trying to like show that it doesn't have to be? Or
yeah, I think like as a culture in society, we've been moving away from that, because especially now that like spiritual practices are respected so much more and validated, I think, by a lot of us. But yeah, I think I want this book to definitely be part of that work, to like being a witch, being a bruja, using those terms does not have like this negative, you know, dark energy around it that we have been told to put on it by the white gaze. Like white people have told us to invalidate these experiences of our ancestors who were like deeply attuned, and that just didn't work for them. So they demonized them. And so like we have continued doing that. And so like I do hope this book helps folks reclaim that.
you used some of that when we got together with the lasagna.
What? So yeah, there was this like quote unquote joke, because you know we got married really fast, got together really fast. So
now you
like,
put brujeria on the lasagna.
Exactly. I like did something to the lasagna to like warp his mind to marry me.
Who said that?
I don't know where it started, but sounds legit.
Exactly. When you were an educator, did you teach high school?
No, I taught middle school. I did tutor high school students, but I mainly taught middle school.
Okay. Do you feel like in the middle school group, like were they starting to have like ideas about like relationships or like healthy love at that age?
I don't think so. In at least the middle school students I taught didn't have that. I think girls specifically, especially like girls who are heterosexual, have like this want or desire to have like, you know, the El Príncipe Azul, like the Prince Charming, whatever. But in general, I saw a lot of those relationships be really toxic in middle school.
Okay.
However, I do think like it's kind of shifting away from that. I think about like some of my students who like are now in college, and I like see online, and I don't know, little conversations we'll have here and there where I'm just like, oh, look at you. Or like the things they'll like on my page. I'm like, look at you. So much progress.
Does the character Yolanda, does she like deal with, or kind of, I don't even know what the word is, but does she have any romantic relationships that she explores in this story?
Yeah. So Yolanda is a queer character, a queer girl, and like she doesn't really date like that. And one of the reasons she doesn't date is because she did have like a little like situationship when she was like in 5th, 6th grade with another girl, and the girl was Muslim, and after they like, you know, had their first experiences together and all of that, she like really was traumatized by her response to them being intimate or like having some sort of relationship. And so after that, she like swears off dating, and now she's in high school, and she like is being followed by this boy, Jose, who like really wants to date her, but she doesn't give him the time of day. Eventually they do start dating, and he's like really protective of her and like really shows up for her. And he's been raised by a sister who's like really big on like, this is how you show up for girls. Like, I don't want you to be like, you know, Papi or the men I've dated.
I love when men have like strong women who kind of, especially if they're closer in age to them. So like a sister-brother relationship.
Yeah, I that's what I was thinking when I wrote this book. And now I'm like, damn, did I mess up? Because like, is that more labor for us as women? Like, should boys be doing that for their brothers? And like, you know, but I'm like, whatever. It is what it is.
It's what something people go through.
And so, you know, he shows up to Yolanda in a very healthy way, and they have a really loving relationship, even through all the trauma they live in the book. Yeah, and then when that relationship naturally, spoilers, I guess, when that relationship kind of like fizzles out, they have like this really healthy way of just ending it. And like for me, it was important to put that story in a book, just because I think we have like, I don't know, we have branded breakups as like the end of the world. And as we continue to do all this self-work collectively and like do a lot of like more self-awareness work, I think it's also great for us to land at a place where endings of friendship, romantic relationships, anything, a job, whatever, like those could be good things too. Yeah. Like that could be a blessing in disguise.
I needed to hear that in high school. I like stood in my relationship way longer than I wanted to because ending it just felt like the end of the world. Like absolutely not. Like letting it end was like a failure. Yeah. And I couldn't allow that to happen.
I've never had a relationship and it was like, we had a good run. Thank you for the memories. It's always been some toxic shit.
Yeah.
Key my car.
He's triggered.
Oh my God. I'm like, key your car.
Yeah. He's triggered. He deserved it, but
yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't want to say I haven't either. I think I've had a calmer end to a relationship recently compared to like my younger years. In my younger years, it was terrible. Like same as you, like I had that relationship I was with from the time I was 13 to 23. I had no business being in a relationship that long. And, you know, part of the reason was because like I didn't want to like let it go. I didn't want to start over with someone else. I wanted to like hit those marks of like 10 years. Why? You're 23, girl. What are you talking about? Like, or you're 13. What are you talking about? And so I think, I don't know, as I gotten older, I think it's just, maybe it's just me, but I'm just like, I think it's okay to be like, yo, thank you. I think these are the great things that you did in my life. And like, these are the reasons we cannot.
Do you think you're a better writer for it?
For what?
For the experiences you had from like 13 to 23. Like, let's say you did have that perfect love story where you're 13 and now you're married. Yeah. You think you would have been as powerful as a writer?
Oh, that's a really good question. No, I don't think I would have, honestly. I mean, it would have been nice if I would have been in a marriage where a man was like holding me down and like, all I could do is stay home and write. That would have been perfect. Yeah. But I do think a lot of my heartbreaks in relationships have led me to have like bigger perspectives on like, this is how powerful it is to be an individual. And like, how can I individually like write out these characters in ways that when they do like collide with like friends or like lovers, it's like a very like intentional path of like, we are going at this like journey together. Yeah, I don't think I would have had that perspective had I like been in a solid, committed relationship all my life.
And even specifically that relationship, I feel like you choose paths like, I was talking to you about this the other day. Like that movie, The Butterfly Effect, how like every little action changes the course of history.
That shit is That movie is heartbreaking.
It is. But it makes me think, like, had you stayed in that relationship, then so many other things would not have happened.
At all.
You know what I mean?
I saw on your Instagram, you actually recorded the audio. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, it was so fun. It was also really like tiring just because, you know how much focus this takes. You set this whole thing up. And so like reading a book, voice acting, trying to voice act. I'm not a voice actor.
So you were giving like accents to people and stuff? Or?
I was trying my best. I was trying my best. So it was like just hard, I would say, to do that part. But like overall, it was just so fun. The producers were so cool. And like we're so invested in the story. Like when I would like take a pause, they'd be like, oh my God, I wanted to know like what happened next and stuff. So like
that's cool.
It was really dope. And I think, giving voice to my own story was just like really emotional. Like I had to like step out and like cry a few times because it was just like, wow, like this thing is actually a thing,
It exists. It's real. Look at you holding it in your hand. It's like an actual
I saw
thing.
the slider coming up. It says like,
yes,
do the work.
Yeah, so this is like the other cover. They have this club in the school called Brace Space Club. And it's basically like a club where they talk about current events. And it's like a social justice based type of program. And Yolanda's best friend, Victory, like designs all the covers and the posters and stuff for the events. And so like they just included it. And I thought that was really cool.
It's like a little Easter egg.
Yeah.
Cool. So the school inside the story.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking
about.
That is really dope. It is an Easter egg. I love that. Well, where can people pre-order the book?
Yeah, you can buy The Making of Yolanda wherever books are sold. This is my first time saying that.
Nice.
It's crazy. This is my first traditionally published book. So wherever books are sold. And yeah, there's a link in my bio. But I would urge you to buy from the Lit Bar, which is like an Afro-Latina owned bookstore, the only bookstore in the Bronx. So would urge you to buy from them.
The Lit Bar. I love that. Supporting the community, supporting the Bronx. Yeah, I know I love the Bronx. I'm a big Bronx girl.
Yeah.
How do I claim the Bronx? Like a Bronx surrogate?
Kinda.
Wait, are you from Brooklyn?
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That was another reason they thought I put some brujeria in his lasagna because he moved to the Bronx.
Oh my God.
And Brooklyn people think the Bronx is like Iraq or something. They were like, "You're moving to the Bronx?" Like.
Anywho.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Well, when we have guests on,
I had to really defend the Bronx for us.
Thank you. We appreciate your service.
On 3, baby.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Do you still like us?
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining. Peace, y'all.
Peace.